All right, next question from Teresa Fornaro.
Oh, I know you.
There she is.
All right.
And Teresa's question is, if you could repeat an event in your past, which event would it be?
Yeah, I know that's a good question, but I wouldn't, I mean, because it's past stuff, I have a hard time getting into sort of dwelling on past things.
All right, question from Simon Dennis.
Sounds loud to me. Says put my mouth closer to the...
That's Simon over there?
Much...
All right. Simon's question. All right. There were a lot of rumours going around for some time as to who the replacement singer in Velvet Revolver would be, including at one point Sebastian Bach and also Corey Taylor. How close did Velvet Revolver actually get to finding a new singer, and who was the person closest to getting the role? And could you tell us why this never ended up happening?
Well, Sebastian was before Scott.
Right.
So, and I love Sebastian, but if you can imagine it, it sounded sort of like Skid and Roses, or it was cool, but you knew that everybody who heard it was going to be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It was a little bit too predictable. But as far as since Scott, probably the closest would have to be Corey, because everybody was rallying for him, and I love Corey to death, but it just, something about it was just a little bit too, that's the word for it. You know how Corey sings, it's very macho kind of thing, but it didn't have certain elements I thought it needed, so we just didn't go down that path. And that was the closest so far.
All right, Jody Marino. Are there more movies in the pipeline, and would you consider doing a soundtrack for any other movie genre?
Yeah. Yes, on both.
All right, next question.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've got a handful of things going on in the movie department. So, but the one thing I can't talk about is Cutthroats 9, because that's supposed to go into production the end of this year or next year. And so we're casting that now. And that's not even really a horror movie. It's more of a brutal thriller. But written by Rodrigo Gaudino. So he's the editor-in-chief for Rue Morgue magazine, and he's just a terrific writer, and the script is amazing. So everything else I'm not going to get into, because it's a crapshoot which ones get made and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then as far as soundtracks go, I've done a lot of different stuff anyway, like gotten involved in a lot of different types of movies as far as genres are concerned, but like stuff that I don't think I'm going to really sit down and write something for a romantic comedy. I just don't see that happening. But drama and action and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. How do the two industries compare? Which is more challenging, music or movie industry?
Well, I've been in the music industry for a long time, and that's challenging enough as it is. But the movie industry is new for me, so that makes it doubly challenging. But it's also very slow paced, which is a challenge for me because I'm very hyper and like to do everything like fast. There's a lot of similarities, the way things get done and the different sort of steps to getting something finished and the different people involved, but there's way more cooks in the kitchen in the movie business. So I think, the movie business all in all is a bigger challenge, even if I had been doing it for the last 30 years or whatever.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, Leah Amato. From Leah, who would you love to do a tour/concert with?
That's interesting because we're just talking about that kind of stuff. Like as a musician or to play on tour with? Like two bands playing together.
I'm kind of guessing as a tour, like to join you on tour.
Yeah, I mean the Aerosmith one was a great one. I was just talking about how I'd love to tour with Foo Fighters. That would be cool because they got some cool shit. And then it's hard though because what we do as a rock and roll band is so different than what sort of contemporary rock is all about. I always like to put together the ultimate package, like 1976 Aerosmith with AC/DC, Judas Priest and Metallica or something, But nowadays it's hard for us to couple up with anybody because it's so different from what everybody else is doing. So I can't think of it. I love touring with AC/DC. I've played with those guys before. It's great. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head. I mean, the sound wave thing is going to be awesome. Yeah.
All right, Rebecca Sharp. All right, from Rebecca, what is your number one piece of dad advice you will pass on to your boys?
There's that's an endless. I mean, it's hard to put one priority over the other. There's so many different things that you want to instill in your kids and keep them away from and all that. Fuck. Yeah, I think really the most important thing is to be conscientious and to be respectful and to listen, you know, and a lot of the other things start to fall into place, you know, as long as you keep your sort of your morals together and your values together and you know, how you treat people and how you treat, you know, and if you're going to do something, do it right. All this, I could go on for an hour. That's a tough one.
Yeah. And what do your kids think of your occupation? Do they see you, I guess they just see you as dad?
Yeah, I'm just dad. I mean, they think it's great when they go to the show and they see me jump around because, you know, they always say, well, you don't do that at home, so it's But, you know, really when it comes down to it, you know, what it is that I do is not really a huge concern to them because kids live in the moment and it's all about them. So, you know, what dad does as a career is not that important. What dad's going to do with them or for them is way more important.
Nice. Yeah. All right, Craig Wilkie. Right there.
Hey.
From Craig, do you have a favourite guitar in your collection that's not a Gibson or Gibson copy, something that wouldn't be associated with Slash?
Martin acoustic? Or something that wouldn't be associated with Slash? Oh. No. No, but I love, you know, harps, you know, the big fucking, and so at some point I'm gonna get one of those and sit down and although I was playing lap steel for a second and it took just too much concentration and I ended up, you know, okay. So maybe when I'm like 90, I'll sit there and break out the harp and do my best harpo marks.
All right, Dion Durante. Dion's question is, do you think there will still be guitar heroes in mainstream music of the future, or is this pretty much a thing of the past?
You know, it's really hard to predict any of that kind of stuff because you're thinking in terms of what you know, and so many drastic changes could happen that you weren't expecting and probably will happen. So it could be, or it could be completely obsolete. But it's been, you know, I mean, guitar has been in and out of, it's been mostly out of vogue since I got into it, you know, for the most part. I mean, everybody's always trying to sort of push past the guitar solo section, right? So, and then they put guitar in so it sounds like rock, but, you know,
Right.
So it's hard to say where it's going to be at in the future. Yeah. But I don't think it'll ever go away because there'll always be fuckers like me sitting around going, hey, just gotta be in there. That's one of the reasons why I like to play on a lot of different people's records and fuse it with some rock guitar and go, hey, see? Yeah.
All right, Rebecca Sharp. Do you have any unfulfilled ambition? If so, what is it?
No, not really. I mean, you know, the music thing is an ongoing, evolving thing. So I'll never peak at that. And then I've been doing this movie thing, and the ambition for that is to make the kind of movie that I would want to see. And so that's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of trial and error. But you know, I guess that's sort of an ambition at this point. But other than that, no.
Cool. All right. We have another question from Jody Marino talking about movies. Would you ever consider producing a movie based on your own life? And if so, who would you like to play you?
No and no. That's actually come my way a couple times since I did that book. That's just too self-important. I would hate to be involved in something like that.
Do you think there could be someone playing Slash in the Motley Crue film which comes out?
That never fucking occurred to me. You know, it all depends on how much they wanted to play up any of those, you know, sort of when Guns was opening for Motley. You know, I never even thought about that. It's possible. You know.
We'll see what happens.